Quorum Court, May 25th, 2021 meeting to order. Ms. Perrin, would you call the roll, please?
Justice Ash.
Here.
Justice Byrd. Justice Collins.
Yo.
Justice Freeman. Justice Henry. Justice Helper.
Here.
Justice Jackson.
Here.
Justice Burdette.
Here.
Justice McClanahan.
Here.
Justice McDonald.
Here.
Justice White.
Here.
We have a quorum. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes.
Judge, I make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes since all of us have been provided with a copy. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to the treasurer's report. Ms. Meek?
Okay, the interest rate on a $100,000 CD is still 0.55, and that is at the First National Bank of Eastern Arkansas in Osceola. Your sales tax report is still, it's down a little bit from last month, but it was still good for the month of April as compared to previous years. It was up from most of us. I had shared with a couple of you. It is going, we got word this afternoon what it's going to be for May, and it's going to be really, really good for May. I mean, it's going to be really off the charts for May. And I also gave you your fund balance report. As of today, our general fund balance report is in good shape. It had gotten down pretty low earlier in the week, but that was mostly because the Sheriff's Department did buy his new vehicles that were budgeted, so that got us down pretty low earlier in the week. But the collector has sent out the tax statements, and we should be beginning to get some tax collections in there also, so we should be in good shape there. And I guess that's all.
Any questions, Ms. Meek? Thank you. We'll move on to the committee reports. Justice Jackson.
Thank you, Judge. The Energy and Property Committee met on May the 4th. During this meeting, the discussion was about acquiring the Blytheville Police Department. There was discussion, the committee was asked to discuss if there was a desire to acquire the building. There is still talk that we need additional storage for records. The renovated courthouse is larger, but mainly for the courtrooms. By the time we finished it, we were just kind of asked to identify, does the county have a use for this building, have the mold checked out, what the annual cost would be. We were going to check to see if there had been historic grants given, and we would rediscuss it at the Energy and Property meeting on May 11th. And while at the meeting, Justice Freeman did give us a little bit of an insurance update, stating that there were no new updates. And again, the question was asked if the county was moving forward with paying the debts, and that at this point the county is still not paying any of the debts. Mr. Thomas, the attorney, has recommended to not pay if the providers would not accept the negotiated price. And there was also discussion about this Red Cross building. The state of Arkansas and the American Red Cross are closing several of the offices. And the Red Cross office in Blytheville is closing. The director has asked to continue to use the office space and would like to use it in the Red Cross capacity. There was also a little bit of talk about the new landfill cell. There was water under the liner. They actually put a hole in the liner in order to drain the liner out. The estimate was first at $5,000, but it looked like $1,500 was going to cover it. They felt like once the water was out, then the cell would be filled, and that would keep it from happening again.
Any questions for Justice Jackson?
Okay.
We'll move on to the next committee report. Justice Jackson.
So the Energy and Property committee met again on May the 11th. This time we were discussing the budget, the courthouse budget. We reviewed change order number 14, and that was actually subtracted from the construction contingency, leaving the contingency balance at $158,835.08. Myself and Kelly discussed that we have been tracking the budget to make sure that everything is kind of playing out the way it's supposed to. Everything is matching. The budget still looks great. There's still a little bit of unappropriated money. Mr. Ruby did talk. He talked a little bit about the rehabilitation of the courthouse and the difference in rehabilitation versus restoration and some other terms, so that when you are looking at the new courthouse, there are still some historic parts such as the exposed conduit. Let's see, the expenses paid for last month left just under $250,000 appropriated, so there is a recommendation to appropriate an additional $750,000. There was an Osceola update. Most of the scaffolding is down. There's one tower for the windows. Most of the copper work is done. There's still no real decision about the pigeon control. Justice Ash asked if the copper had been returned. As of now, Mr. Ruby and Renaissance Roofing are still working on getting the copper returned. The plan is for them to return it when they come back at the 1st of June to finish the windows. The old copper is being stored at the road department, and then there was the final discussion on the police department building was that the city of Blytheville, we were not sure if there was interest in it, but they were interested potentially in selling it, and our committee did not have any interest in pursuing that. And as far as a sale purchase, we may be interested in the lot, but not in actually buying the building.
Any questions for Justice Jackson? I would like to add, I was at the Osceola courthouse today. The droppings at the front step are as bad as they've ever been. I spoke with the custodian, and he's requested a small power washer to try to keep that taken care of, and so I'm working on that right now to try to make that happen. We'll move on to our next committee report. Justice White?
Yes, sir. Finance Committee meeting on the 17th, last Monday, our regular monthly Finance Committee meeting. We looked over the new printouts, the monthly expenditure printouts that are produced by our new software programs, and discussed them and the differences that we have between the old software programs. A lot of the material hasn't been transferred over yet from the old programs to the new programs, but it is in progress. I think we're going to like it once it's completed, because we get one kind of a summary presentation where you don't have 118 pages. But if you want the 115 to 18 pages, then we'll have a secondary report that you'll be able to print and look at each and every check that's written every month. In this transfer process and transformation process from the old software to the new, Kelly reported that they need another extension with the old software contract. The old software company only does extensions in 6-month lengths, and a 6-month extension would be $15,000. So you'll see an appropriation ordinance tonight that will include a $15,000 appropriation for that 6-month extension to help with the software transition. Another action that you'll see tonight comes from intersection property, and we'll see an appropriation ordinance for $750,000 to continue work on the courthouse renovation project. Then the Justice Fleeman of the insurance committee talked to us about the wellness program and about $10,000 that Cigna has provided to our employees as a gift card program and an incentive for the employees to get certain wellness checks during the course of the year. We didn't know if we needed to appropriate the $10,000, but Justice Fleeman reported that there's a possibility that Cigna may actually buy the gift cards for us, and we won't even have to expend the money. So we kind of put that on hold and tabled that for just a little bit. Then the juvenile department came to us. They're doing an at-risk youth program where they're taking at-risk youth and mentoring them and meeting with them on a regular basis. And part of that meeting with them is providing meals. So the juvenile department had approached the juvenile circuit judges in the 2nd Judicial District and asked for an appropriation for a little bit of money to pay for gas, to pay for guest speakers, to pay for meals for the youth that they were talking to. And they asked the juvenile judges for $2,500, and the juvenile judges agreed. And we had a letter from the leading juvenile judge, Judge Richard Lusby, that those judges had approved that. So you'll see an appropriation tonight for $2,500 for the juvenile at-risk program. Then we discussed the Osceola Health Department. We don't have an appropriation for that tonight, but they'd already spent quite a bit of money and they still need some more repairs. And so they were just asking, would we be committed to helping them keep their building up to date? And yes, the Quorum Court is fully committed. The committee and the other justices there stated that yes, we need to keep that going. And in fact, the next part of the report, we talked about the American Rescue Plan, COVID money that the Biden administration has pushed through, the $1.9 trillion that is trickling down to the states, the counties, and the cities, even the school districts. In our portion of it, we'll be receiving, it appears to be $7.9 million over the course of the next year or so. We'll have about 3 years to spend it, but the directions, the guidelines for spending that money in the correct fashion are right now at 151 pages. Some counties, I don't know if you read it, Judge, but in the Jonesboro Sun, some counties are actually hiring consultants to help them and making their decisions on about how to spend the money so that they don't misspend it, because it's clearly stated that any misspent money, once the U.S. government audits the money, any misspent money falls back on the county to reimburse. So we've got to be very careful about how we spend it. But the health units could very easily qualify for some upgrading and some definite maintenance and preventive maintenance, and I think we may be able to spend some money in that direction. But we are committed to our health units and keeping them, the judge has said from the get-go when he was first elected, he and I walked through the Bible Health Unit looking at repairs that needed done and plans that needed to be made. So we are committed to them. We are committed to this American Rescue Plan. I sat in on a conference call, Zoom meeting. Judge, you were eligible for that. I don't know if you were in on it. Or
I did. I stayed for all 2.5 hours.
Yeah, almost exhausting. But you know, one of the recurring themes in that was be patient. Don't get in a hurry. Make sure you do this right. We've got over 3 years to spend the money. So we are committed when we want to make sure that it's done right. We want to make sure it's done in a lasting fashion and definite improvements for the citizens of Mississippi County. We discussed the fact that the judge had hired a new veteran service officer, Dale Dickerson, a very qualified veteran. Will be taking the Veteran Service Office. We discussed, we really don't need a resolution, but we did want to recognize the fact that Mr. Dale Dickerson will be our new Veteran Service Officer in the county. Judge Nelson talked to us about the courthouse renovation, that it was on time and under budget. We talked about the transition to here and how smooth that went. So our appropriations at the end of the meeting are going to be tonight. $750,000 from Energy and Property for courthouse renovation, $2,500 for the juvenile department at the Youth at-Risk program, and $15,000 for financial management extension of their software contract.
Any questions for Justice White? And I believe Mrs. Meek, you are in on that Zoom meeting as well, is that?
Yes. Has any medium contacted you about the money and what our thoughts were or anything?
Did you say the media?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been approached by anyone.
I mean, I just wondered because they've contacted the young girl, I mean, they're on the news 2 or 3 times already, you know.
Oh, it's been front page news on Jonesboro
I just
Sun.
wondered why nobody has contacted you, you know, about Mississippi County. I mean, we're just as important as they are, in my opinion.
I spoke to some areas in the county that, well, I spoke with our hospital systems, and they weren't aware of it.
I mean, tonight, their county judge said that they were even looking into spending some of theirs in their jail system.
Can I shed some light on that from the
Yes.
media's perspective, since I happen to be in that realm this week? Part of the issue with this is, we know what the lump sum is Mississippi County's getting, allegedly, the $7.9 million that Justice White referenced. But we're not getting any direction on anything else. We know what the major cities, I can't remember what they call them, but the other cities and things like that are smaller than, I can't remember what the population cutoff is. We're not getting any information on that because that's technically up to the counties to decide, from the way I understand it, okay, the way we understand it. So there's still a lot of gray area there that has to be gone through before we know what to ask everybody. That's the problem. The major cities, Fort Smith, Jonesboro, the cities that have more than 50,000 people, they're in a different class than everybody else. Everybody else is lumped into a large pie. So there's a lot of different, not to say there's different rules, but they have some definite direction on what they can do, whereas we're still trying to figure out exactly what questions to ask, for us to ask.
Right, it said on there that there hasn't been a list that has come out about the smaller cities
Yes, ma'am.
yet. But I mean, I haven't even seen an article in our paper about what our county's gonna get, in our paper.
The schools know what they're gonna get.
If you had one on the Ocala Times had a small article on the front page, because we were trying to get the information from the Department of Finance and
I mean,
Administration.
I just asked, I don't.
And we didn't really, we were prepared to do something large, but we didn't get enough information to fill up 3 paragraphs from the Department of Finance and Administration, so,
Check with UALR,
yes.
because I was told today, UALR is going to be doing the divisions with
Right.
smaller cities.
The school districts know, like you said, the school districts know what they're getting, but the smaller cities, way that, we haven't really had any firm direction on where to go with it. I'm gonna do exactly what you said, just thank you. And I apologize for taking up so much time.
No, that's interesting information. And I will add, and I think Justice White is exactly spot on with our maybe holding back for a little while, because some of these rules that are in a gray area will be clarified as we go along. And I think it's right. I think we got 3 years to commit, and actually I think we got 6
2 more
years.
after that to spend it.
Yeah, I think we got 3 more years. I'd have to look at my notes, but we've got a while to get this done.
Sure do.
And what may be vague right now may be very clear 2 years from now.
I think we've got to be committed by the end of 2024 and have it spent by the end of 2026.
That's all right.
So we've got some time.
Absolutely.
But you do have to do some reporting, like by August of this year. I mean, it's pretty invasive.
Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to new business. We have 3 resolutions before us. The first one is the intentions with the old Concord Osceola. Ms. Curry, would you read the resolution, please?
Resolution number R 2021-5. A resolution stating the county's intentions regarding old copper from the Osceola Courthouse. Whereas the county is in possession of the old copper removed from the Osceola Courthouse by virtue of the roofing project, whereas it shall be the express intention of Mississippi County Quorum Court to first make an accounting of the quantity and then proceed to sell the excess copper. Whereas the profits of this sale will be put towards any repairs or upgrades necessary necessary for the Osceola Courthouse. Whereas the Energy and Property Committee has approved said action as a valid expression of their intention, now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that 1, the old copper removed from the Osceola Courthouse shall be accounted for, 2, the copper shall be sold, and 3, the profits shall be put towards improvements and repairs for the courthouse.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any comments?
I'd really like a little clarification or make it clear that when we say the profit shall be put towards improvements and repairs for the Osceola courthouse. That was the intentions of your committee, wasn't it?
I do believe, yes.
Did we ever get,
So this needs to be changed? Excuse me. Justice White.
I've deferred to the committee chairman on that.
Yes, I believe in item 3, where it says it repairs for it should say Osceola Courthouse.
Okay.
Do we need to amend this prior to going any further?
I'll make a motion that we amend part number 3 to say improvements and repairs for the Osceola Courthouse.
I'll second that.
Any comments? We'll go ahead and vote on the amendment. Ms. Curry?
Justice Ash?
Yes.
Justice Cullum?
yes,
Justice Kepler?
Yes.
Justice Jackson?
Yes.
Justice Mangat?
Yes.
Justice McDonald?
Yes.
Justice White?
Yes.
You skipped me.
Who did I skip?
Me.
McClanahan, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Justice McClanahan?
Yes.
All right, we do have the resolution amended. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion we adopt the resolution.
Move for adoption, and I'll second the motion.
Is there any comments? I would like to add that there are statutory guidelines that guide us through the disposal of county property. I'll look into that as if we pass this resolution and where we're going from here. Ms. Curry, would you call the roll?
Justice Ash?
Yes.
Justice Cullum?
yes,
Justice Kepler?
Yes.
Justice Jackson?
Yes.
Justice Mangat?
Yes.
Justice McClanahan?
Yes.
Justice McDonald?
Yes.
Justice White?
Yes.
We'll move on to this next resolution, which are appointments. Ms. Curry?
Resolution number R 2021-6. A resolution setting forth new appointments to the hospital board and the drainage district number 13 board. Whereas the Mississippi County Quorum Court has made new appointments to 2 boards within the county. Whereas the Mississippi County Quorum Court has appointed Matt Perrin to the hospital board and has appointed Rafe to the Dead Timber Wood Drainage District number 13 board. Whereas the Personnel Committee has approved and recommends said action, now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that 1, Matt Perrin shall be appointed to the hospital board, and 2, Rafe Banks shall be appointed to the Dead Timberwood Drainage District number 13 board.
I have a question before we go any further. This says it was approved by the Personnel Committee. I don't believe we've met on this yet. Because I'm chairman of the committee and I know we haven't met.
I wasn't there either. Me neither.
Do we want to proceed? What would you like to do, Justice Ash?
Well, I'm just questioning it because it says we've approved it.
No, yeah.
I'd like to make it clear that it has not been approved.
I believe that is correct.
Because I see no reason to hold it up. But, you know, that, I think we'll have to amend it and remove that part.
All right, let's move on to the amendments.
Make a motion that we remove the part where it says, whereas the Personnel Committee has approved and recommended said action.
Second.
Any comments? We'll vote on the amendment.
Justice Ash?
Yes.
Justice Cullum?
yeah,
Justice Kepler,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We passed the amendment. Do we have a motion for the amended resolution 2021-6?
Make a motion that we approve the resolution appointing Matt Perrin to the hospital board and Rafe Banks to the Dead Timberwood Drainage District Number 13 board.
Second.
Any comments? Ms. Curry?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Kepler,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We'll move on to the next resolution, which is the pertaining to the Red Cross office. Ms. Curry?
Resolution number R 2021-7, a resolution authorizing the usage of the annex office by the Red Cross in their official capacity. Whereas the Mississippi County Annex Building has an office space that had been used for the Red Cross, but said office recently closed. Whereas the Red Cross supervisor has expressed interest in using the recently closed Red Cross office space within the county annex building. Whereas the Energy and Property Committee has approved said usage as long as it is in an official capacity. Now therefore be it resolved by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that one, the space in the county annex building used by the Red Cross up until its closure may still be used by the Red Cross supervisor as long as said usage is within their official capacity.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there comment? Ms. Curry, would you call the roll?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Kepler,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We'll move on to our ordinances. The first ordinance we have is third reading for the transparency.
I make a
Curry.
motion that we read it by title only.
Second.
Do we call the roll? Would you call the, is there any comments or questions? Would you call the roll?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Kepler,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Ordinance number O 2021-8, an ordinance ensuring an open and transparent bidding and contracting process.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any comments or questions?
Judge, we strung it out for 3 months, taking it one at a time. You decided, and we did too, that it wasn't really an emergency, but we are working towards transparency in our county government, and this is just another step moving in that direction.
I think it'd be a good step. With no more comments, Ms. Curry?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Kepler,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We'll move on to our next ordinance, which is the third reading of another transparency ordinance.
Make a motion we read it by title only.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Ms. Curry?
Excuse me, ordinance number O 2021-9, an ordinance titled County Board Transparency Report Ordinance.
Move for adoption.
Do we have to vote on
Go
skipping?
ahead and do it.
Vote on third reading.
Sorry, we
Skip something. Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Hinton, Kepler,
yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Now we'll try that again. O 2021-9, 2009, an ordinance titled County Board Transparency Report Ordinance.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there comments or questions?
You know, of the transparency things, issues, Judge, that we talked about, I find this really interesting. The different boards that we have, some of them I really wasn't even aware of, but I think making it available to the public of what the boards are, what their terms are, what they actually do, who appoints them, I think that's useful information.
I think it's very important information, and Mr. Savage and I, when we first got into office, we'd had a conversation about what his responsibilities would be, and we both agreed on if we could make the county more transparent, that would be a positive thing, and it would also cost practically no money and very little time. We were 67th ranked in the state at the time, but we have since found out it's not cheap and it does take a lot of time. So Mr. Savage has pretty much exhausted our website capabilities right now. We're speaking with the same group that has set us up for an expansion so that we can include a lot of these items that we're trying to get to. And we've moved from 67th to, I believe, 18th place overall in the state since Mr. Savage began this. We do have hopes of, our goal is to be #1 in the state. We're moving in that direction as quickly as we can, but there is a lot of information that has to be gathered and put on the website to get in that top ranking. Ms. Curry?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullum,
Yes.
Justice Hudson,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We'll move on to the next the next ordinance, which is an appropriation ordinance.
Appropriation ordinance number O-2021-15. An ordinance authorizing appropriations for the at-risk program for juvenile outreach to at-risk youth. Whereas the juvenile judges have approved this appropriation and program prior to its coming before the Finance Committee. Whereas the program will include funding for food, supplies, and mileage for the program. Whereas there has been an identified need in Mississippi County for juvenile outreach. Whereas the Mississippi County Quorum Court wishes to provide funding for the program, and now therefore be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that one, the following appropriations modifications are hereby made for the 2021 budget. Slot or account number 3031.0414.3109 for at-risk program in the amount of $2,500. 2, all appropriations previously authorized, approved, and made as to all other offices, departments, and agencies of county government, and all other funds not hereinabove changed, are to remain as previously appropriated. Detailed provisions of said appropriations are reflected in the schedule of specific items listed by account numbers within the category for each office and filed in the office of the county court clerk. 3, this ordinance being an appropriation ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately from and after its passage and approval by the county judge.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there questions or comments? Ms. Curry?
Justice Ash,
Yes.
Justice Cullen,
Yes.
Justice Helper,
Yes.
Justice Jackson,
Yes.
Justice Mangat,
Yes.
Justice McClanahan,
Yes.
Justice McDonald,
Yes.
Justice White.
Yes.
We'll move on to our next ordinance, which is another appropriation ordinance. Ms. Curry?
Appropriation ordinance number O-2021-16. An ordinance authorizing appropriations for the extension of the software contract with Avenu Insights. Whereas the Financial Management Office currently has a contract with Avenu Insights for the use of their software for accounts payable, general ledger, capital assets, and payroll. Whereas the Financial Management Office will be transitioning into a new software, but needs some time to tie up loose ends with this company so that the office may transition. Whereas this contract was previously extended for 6 months for this purpose, however, this was not enough time. Whereas the Mississippi County Quorum Court wishes to provide funding for the cost of extending the contract for 6 additional months, and now therefore be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that 1, the following appropriations modifications are hereby made for the 2021 budget. Slot or account number 1000.0113.3003 for computer services in the amount of $15,000. Number 2, all appropriations previously authorized, approved, and made as to other offices, departments, and agencies of county government, and all other funds not hereby changed are to remain as previously appropriated. Detailed provisions of said appropriations are reflected in the schedule of specific items listed by account numbers within the category for each office and filed in the office of the county court clerk. 3, this ordinance being an appropriation ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately from and after its passage and approval by the county judge.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there comments or questions? Ms. Curry, would you call the roll?
Justice Ash?
Yes.
Justice Cullum?
Yes.
Justice Helper?
Yes.
Justice Jackson?
Yes.
Justice Mangat?
Yes.
Justice McClanahan?
Yes.
Justice McDonald?
Yes.
Justice White?
Yes.
We'll move on to our last ordinance, which is, again, an appropriation ordinance. Ms. Curry?
Appropriation ordinance number 2021-17. An ordinance authorizing, modifying appropriations for the operation of the Mississippi County government, including the appropriation of certain funds for the construction and renovation of the Mississippi County courthouses and for other purposes. Whereas there are currently underway construction and renovation projects on the Mississippi County Courthouse in Blytheville, where it has been reported to the Mississippi County Quorum Court by the entities responsible for the performance of said projects that funds are currently needed in the amount of $750,000 for the Blytheville Courthouse. Whereas the Mississippi County Quorum Court wishes to provide funding for the cost of said project, and now therefore be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Mississippi County, Arkansas, that 1, the following appropriations modifications are hereby made for the 2021 budget. Slot or account number 4800.0108.4006, for construction in progress in the amount of $750,000. Number 2, all appropriations previously authorized, approved, and made as to all other offices, departments, and agencies of county government, and all other funds not hereby changed are to remain as previously appropriated. Detailed provisions of said appropriations are reflected in the schedule of specific items listed by account numbers within the category for each office and filed in the office of the county court clerk. Number 3, this ordinance being an appropriation ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately from and after its passage and approval by the county judge.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there comments or questions? Ms. Curry, would you call the roll?
Justice Ash?
Yes.
Justice Cullum?
Yes.
Justice Helper?
Yes.
Justice Jackson?
Yes.
Justice Mangat?
Yes.
Justice McClanahan?
Yes.
Justice McDonald?
Oh, yes.
Justice White?
Yes.
We'll move on to new business. Dr. Cullum.
I want to talk about ambulance service in Mississippi County, or the absence there of ambulance service from Osceola South. Response time for our present ambulance service from Osceola to Wilson is 30 minutes. Had an accident just north of Wilson, 0.2 of a mile on Highway 61. First responders had been there 15 minutes. County Sheriff's Department had been there 20 minutes, and the ambulance arrived. State police say that if there's an accident south of the 48-mile marker, which is Osceola, it takes an average of 45 minutes to 1 hour for there to be response time. First responders in those cases have oftentimes called the helicopter, and they've arrived before our ambulance service has. The other thing that those little communities depend on down there is first responders. This county, when we had an ambulance service and Kevin Jackson was in charge, used to educate our first responders. We had a meeting together. I think Justice White's been in on that. We don't do that anymore. And each little community is, I guess, responsible for training and gathering and dispersing their first responders. If it takes 30 minutes to get to Wilson, how long does it take to get to Bassett, Joyner, Frenchman's Bayou, Birdsong, Denwood, Dice, Etowah? And as you go south from Wilson, the average age of your population jumps considerably higher. And we are not, okay, just get personal for a minute. Had a transfer of a patient with ruptured appendix, which is a medical emergency. We were 4th on the list for transfer. Fortunately, for my patient, the nurse in the emergency room was able to do a better job of triaging than our ambulance service was. Said, wait a minute, this is a routine transfer, number 2. That routine transfer can go 5 or 6 hours from now. This is an emergency and it needs to go. Now, they don't triage well. When you call your dispatcher, a lot of times comes from Prescott, Arkansas. Nothing is dispatched until you get patient name, birthday, diagnosis, location, and when you give them a location of 700 West Kaiser, which is my office, they want to know a suite number. Well, obviously, if you're far enough away that you think there's a suite number in Osceola, Arkansas, you don't have a damn clue of where you're supposed to go. Now, I just feel like that, and I know that the ambulance service was a burden on this county. I've been doing this, if I make it June 23rd, 48 years. So I know it was a terrible burden, but we've turned it over to the private sector and we have demolished service to our county residents. And especially, a lot of times you'll call, I don't know what you call right now, there's probably 3 ambulances in Blytheville if they're not on the run. And I understand where the center population is. There's one in Osceola. That's a 48-mile marker. And from Osceola to the 27.5-mile marker, there's nothing. I spoke with the fire chief at Osceola. They have a rescue squad vehicle, and they used to help us out. They have an area that they cover for fires, which goes south of Osceola to Wilson, Carson Lake, almost to Kaiser, that they cover in fire response. They would probably be able to help us with their piece of equipment, but there's no coordination there. Well, you know it or not, Nucor has their own ambulance. Big River Steel is in the process of purchasing their own ambulance. Response time to Big River Steel was so slow, they had a patient with a partially amputated finger that was flown to the med in a helicopter for the want of an ambulance. Now, a waste of an emergency vehicle. Suppose something had come along that needed that airplane. Because we can't furnish an ambulance and we send a guy in a helicopter with a partially amputated finger. It is, this is being recorded, so I can't tell you how terrible it is in words that everybody can understand. And I would just like to see us get involved. Number one, let's have a program to train our first responders so we as a quorum court know that these little towns have, and they will respond. At my house, my security system calls me, the county, and the volunteer fire department in Wilson. The volunteer fire department in Wilson, who is 12 minutes away, can put 15 people in my yard in 15 minutes. We need those people, and we need some way to coordinate them. And we need to do what we can do to replace Pafford.
Justice Cullum, would you like to submit this to a committee and explore this further?
Yes, sir. And I think that the fire department in Osceola and all the first responders would love to be part of what we try to do. I know they will, I've talked to them.
Is there a suggestion on the appropriate committee?
Fire, police, and safety. Sounds like one.
Justice Ash, is that you?
Yes.
Can we set up a meeting and explore that issue that Dr. Cullen was speaking about?
Yes, we can. I'd like to, and I'll call Cindy tomorrow to remind her, but I'd like for her to contact all the fire departments in the south end of the county, as well as Pafford, and ask that they have either one of their supervisors or Miss Pafford at that meeting. So we'll try to coordinate it where we can get them all there. And then we can, because we need, if we have that few ambulances, maybe we need to be looking at how many more we need and see if they can get us. As well as getting some training for, because I'm sure they have a training officer for their personnel in the ambulance service.
Who knows?
Ms. George, would you pull that contract as well?
Yes, sir.
Is there any addition to what Justice Cullum has, anyone would like to make any other comments?
Anything that they have to do.
We'll set that committee meeting up. Any other new business? We'll move to announcements, and I would like to say that I cannot express enough how much Mr. Savage has done. We're talking about the transparency efforts that he has been working on for the last 2 years, and I'm very grateful for all the work and the time that he's put into it. And I think that it'll make a big difference in our county, and he has done all of this on his own, and so I'm grateful to him for doing that. Any other announcements? I'll entertain a motion to
I'd
adjourn.
like to interject something there. And I don't know if the sheriff's department is going to do something or not, but I'll also talk to the sheriff about this. Randy Moody was a constable for the Chickasaw District. If I remember right, for over 20 years. He was also a member of the Sheriff's Department Reserve, and he passed away about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. I think we'll have to investigate, do we have to do anything to fill that vacancy, or do we have to declare a vacancy? But I also think that we should maybe have some type of resolution thanking him for his service to the county.
I do believe that falls under the statutory guidelines of declaring a vacancy.
I think it does. It's a constitutionally elected position.
Should we move that to,
That'd be fire, police, and safety too, I think. Being a constable and in that position,
so,
either that or personnel.
Either way, I've got it.
well, we've got one committee meeting already set up, then Justice Ash, could we do both of those in one setting?
Yes, we can.
And we'll pull the paperwork that we have in our office and have it prepared too. Any other announcements? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.